You are not here for comfort. You are here for control. Control of your mouth, your mind, your chaos, and your money. 4 forces that either enslave you, chaining you to the whims of others and the lies of society, or they become the very levers that make you untouchable. Most men live as servants to their impulses, believing the grand deception that authenticity means bleeding every thought and feeling into the open. They talk too much, betraying their hand, their fear, their very strategy. They think too softly, allowing a marketplace of distractions to pollute their mental fortress. They drown in disorder, forever reacting to the world, never commanding it. And they waste their wealth, convinced by the exploitation trap of consumerism that fleeting pleasure is freedom, instead of building a war chest for true sovereignty. But you, if you're listening now, you're not most men. You came here to sharpen your edge, to step into Machiavellian mode. This is not about kindness, not about morality in the soft sense that disarms you. This is about strategy, leverage, and the brutal reality of survival and domination in a world designed to keep you weak. You want freedom. You want power. Then you must become your own master, ruthlessly, strategically, before you can ever hope to command others, or even survive their relentless attempts to control you. Your mouth must speak with lethal precision, every word a calculated strike, every silence a psychological weapon. Your mind must be fortified like stone, impenetrable to the relentless propaganda and engineered distractions that seek to scatter your focus. Your chaos, both internal and external, must be bent into order, or even better, weaponized into strategic advantage. And your money, far from being a mere comfort, must serve your ambitions like an army serves its general, a silent, powerful force that buys options, loyalties, and ultimate freedom. I will give you the blueprint. 8 parts, 8 weapons, forged in the crucible of strategic thought. By the end, you will not be the same man you were before pressing play. You will be colder, sharper, more dangerous, and undeniably more disciplined. If you're ready to break free from the matrix of weakness, type in the comments, "I am untouchable." Say it, own it, write it. Now, let's begin. The first weapon, and the most overlooked vulnerability, is your mouth. This is where men destroy themselves not with fists, but with words they should never have spoken. Society, with its endless demand for transparency and sharing, presents a grand deception. That speaking your mind freely is a virtue. This is the exploitation trap. Loose tongues leak strategy, betray raw emotion, and expose vulnerabilities to a world that will not hesitate to weaponize them against you. Consider the geopolitical stage. How many intelligence operations have been compromised? How many diplomatic advantages lost simply because a key figure couldn't hold their silence? Silence, on the other hand, is not merely the absence of sound. It is a fortress. When you speak less, you force others to reveal themselves, filling the void with their own anxieties and intentions. When you choose your words with precision, every sentence becomes a blade, cutting through the noise with surgical intent. Machiavelli himself warned that men judge more by appearances than by reality. Your words, or lack thereof, create that appearance. If your mouth runs wild, you give your enemies ammunition, freely handing them the very tools to dismantle your reputation, your plans, your empire. If your mouth is disciplined, you make them starve for clues, leaving them guessing, unsettled, fearful. Do not waste energy on idle chatter, cheap jokes, or superfluous explanations that buy you nothing but a temporary and ultimately costly sense of camaraderie. Learn to answer with brevity, or more powerfully, not at all. Cold silence unsettles people. They cannot measure you, cannot categorize you, and thus they cannot control you. So they fear you. Every man who wants to be untouchable must learn the art of withholding. Never explain your grand strategy until it is an undeniable reality. Never confess your weakness, for it will be exploited without mercy. Never let your raw emotions spill into the air where they can be dissected, analyzed, and weaponized against you. Control your mouth, and you control perception. Control perception, and you control power. This is not about being disingenuous. It's about strategic self-preservation, about constructing an impenetrable front. In an age of oversharing, your silence is a radical act of power. If you understand this, write in the comments, "My silence is my weapon." And let the world wonder what you're plotting while you sharpen your edge in the unyielding quiet. Your mind is the throne upon which every decision sits, the command center of your entire existence. And yet, most men treat it like a chaotic marketplace, open to anyone, cluttered with deafening noise, polluted by an endless stream of distractions. This relentless assault on your mental clarity is no accident. It is a deliberate design of the modern world, the ultimate exploitation trap. Social media, entertainment, sensationalized news, they are all engineered to keep your mind weak, fragmented, and perpetually reactive, preventing you from forging the ruthless clarity needed for strategic thought. If your mind is weak, you are nothing but a puppet, pulled by the invisible strings of raw emotion, fleeting impulse, and paralyzing fear. A Machiavellian man does not let his mind drift like a leaf in the wind. He trains it like a soldier, relentless, sharp, disciplined to the point of brutality. To control your mind, you must first learn to surgically separate emotion from cold, hard calculation. Emotion clouds judgment, distorts reality, and compels irrational actions, while calculation, unburdened by sentiment, clarifies it, revealing the true path to power. When others panic, swept up in the latest crisis or market crash, you must remain cold, a stoic observer. When others celebrate, blinded by ephemeral victories, you must stay measured, already anticipating the next move. Your strength lies not in how loudly you feel, but in how deeply, ruthlessly, and strategically you think. This demands a mastery of self-discipline, not as a separate virtue, but as the very engine of mental control. Discipline is the iron spine that holds all power together, the ability to command yourself when every impulse screams for comfort, for release. It's the daily, relentless practice of mastery, transforming average men into legends. Guard what enters your mind with the ferocity of a sentry protecting a fortress. Every book you consume, every conversation you engage in, every image you allow to penetrate your consciousness. These are not passive inputs. They are seeds that grow into thoughts, and thoughts, inevitably, grow into actions. A weak man feeds his mind with the poison of gossip, fear-mongering, and trivial entertainment, and then wonders why his life rots from the inside out. He embraces the big lie that intellectual indulgence without strategic application is growth. A strong man, a Machiavellian strategist, feeds his mind with strategy, with timeless philosophy, with the hard-won lessons of power and history. He understands that the external world is a reflection of the internal one. To master the battlefield of life, you must first master the brutal, unforgiving battlefield within your own skull. Ruthless focus, ruthless clarity, ruthless discipline. This is the unbreakable foundation of mental control. It means cutting out every habit that enslaves you, every distraction that dilutes your power, every voice that whispers weakness. Freedom is not found in indulgence. It is forged in restraint, in the absolute command of your inner world. If you understand this law, write in the comments, "My mind is my fortress." Say it with conviction, because once your mind is fortified, honed, and operating with strategic precision, no one can invade, manipulate, or break you. Control your mind, and you control your fate. seizing sovereignty over your very consciousness. Chaos is the natural state of the world, and weak men are not only swallowed by it, they actively generate it through their lack of discipline and foresight. Look around you. Disorder, distraction, endless noise. This is not just an unfortunate byproduct of modern life. It is a weaponized environment, an exploitation trap designed to keep you perpetually reacting, perpetually overwhelmed. Most men are tossed around like leaves in a storm, forever scrambling, forever losing ground. But a Machiavellian mind knows that chaos is not an enemy to be avoided. It is raw power, a turbulent sea awaiting a master navigator. The difference between annihilation and domination lies in control. When you master chaos, you don't merely survive the storm, you bend it to your will, using its destructive energy for your own ends. Geopolitical upheavals, economic downturns, social unrest. These are not roadblocks for the strategist, but opportunities. Moments when the established order cracks, allowing a prepared mind to reshape the landscape. Discipline is the weapon that cuts through disorder, not to eliminate it, but to harness it. Structure is the armor that protects you from the unpredictable, not by making you rigid, but by providing a flexible framework within which you can operate with ruthless efficiency. The man who commands his environment becomes the general of his own life, while others drown in the mud of their own undirected energy and external pressures. Start with your immediate reality, your body, your space, your time. The disorganized man cannot build empires. He can barely keep his room clean, his schedule on track, his health in check. This external chaos is a direct reflection of chaos within, and the untouchable man refuses to tolerate either. He knows the big lie that a creative mess is acceptable for a strategist. True creativity flourishes within a framework of disciplined order. Order is not about perfection, which is a paralyzing illusion. It is about efficiency, about maximizing leverage, about maintaining ruthless focus on your objectives. When you create order, you conserve precious energy, allowing you to deploy it with surgical precision when the moment demands. But true mastery extends beyond mere external order. It is about learning to direct the chaos of your own impulses, your anger, your lust, your laziness, your fear. These forces are not to be destroyed, for they are potent energies. They are to be harnessed like fire. Fire can burn a house down, reducing everything to ashes, or it can forge steel, creating weapons of immense power. The choice is yours. Be consumed or create. The Machiavellian man sees his emotions not as masters, but as tools, to be unleashed or restrained according to strategic need. Control your chaos, and you will move through life like a storm contained within iron walls, destructive when you choose, unshakable when tested. Others will look at you and see calm, unwavering resolve. But beneath that calm is a man who has weaponized disorder, transforming raw, unpredictable energy into calculated strategy. If you understand this law, write in the comments, "I command the storm." Say it. Because once you control chaos, no betrayal, no crisis, no unexpected blow can break you. You will be the man who thrives in disorder while others crumble, the sovereign who turns crisis into coronation. Control chaos, and you stand untouchable, wielding the raw power of the world itself. Money is not just currency. It is leverage. It is influence. It is the very oxygen of survival and the ultimate key to freedom. This is where the world's most pervasive exploitation trap operates, designed to keep the vast majority of men shackled. Men without money are forced to obey, forced to beg, forced to bow their heads to those who possess it. You cannot claim true power, cannot execute grand strategies, cannot achieve sovereignty while living in financial chains, perpetually at the mercy of others. A Machiavellian man knows that money is not about crude greed, but about supreme control. It is a weapon sharper than any blade, because with it, You can buy time, you can secure loyalty, you can enforce silence. You can ensure escape, and crucially, you can fund your ambitions without compromise. Consider the power of nations. Their influence in the global arena is inextricably linked to their economic might, their ability to project financial leverage. The tragedy is that most men waste this potent weapon, bleeding their wealth on pleasures that weaken them, cheap thrills, fleeting entertainment, and endless, unthinking consumption. They feed the very system that enslaves them instead of strategically building their own fortress of financial independence. This is the big lie of consumerism, that buying more things equates to a richer life, when in reality, it often leads to deeper servitude. Discipline with money is fundamentally discipline with life itself. Every dollar must be treated as a soldier in your army, a strategic asset to be deployed with cold precision, never wasted recklessly on impulse. Invest in what multiplies your resources, your influence, your options. Spend only on what strengthens your position, your knowledge, your physical and mental edge. Ruthlessly starve what drains you, what offers no strategic return. Hoard when the herd spends, seizing opportunity while they are distracted by frivolous consumption. Spend when the herd panics, acquiring valuable assets at a discount from their fear. To control money, you must kill impulse and master patience, two qualities conspicuously absent in the modern, instant gratification society. You must think like a predator, stalking opportunity, waiting for the exact moment to strike with maximum impact, minimal risk. Power respects those who respect their own resources. A man who controls his money cannot be blackmailed, cannot be easily manipulated by financial incentives or threats, cannot be cornered by external pressures. He always has options, and options, above all else, are power. Wealth whispers influence. It commands silently, without needing to boast or parade. Money is not the ultimate goal. It is the indispensable foundation. It is the oxygen of ambition, the fuel for your strategic ascent. And without it, your grandest strategies will suffocate, dying before they can even be unleashed. Control your money, and you free yourself from dependence, from the shackles of economic servitude. Lose control, and you will always dance to another man's tune, forever a pawn in someone else's financial game. If you understand this, type in the comments, "My money serves me, not the world." Say it, because once you control your money, you control one of the most dangerous levers of power in existence, and the man who controls money controls his destiny. Power is not just what you inherently are. It is more profoundly what others believe you are. This is the brutal, often counterintuitive truth that Machiavelli illuminated long ago. It is appearances that truly rule the world. The world operates on a grand stage of illusion, a meticulously crafted matrix of perception. The big lie of our era is that raw authenticity, unvarnished and exposed, is the path to respect. In reality, it is often a blueprint for exploitation. A weak man may possess hidden strengths in private, but if no one perceives them, they are strategically irrelevant. Conversely, a strong man may falter in secret, may harbor internal doubts, but if his public image remains unshaken, he remains untouchable. His power undiminished in the eyes of the masses. This is why you must become the ruthless architect of your own perception, the master of your personal propaganda. Every word you utter, every silence you employ, every gesture you make, every environment you inhabit, all must be deliberate, calculated elements in the construction of your invincible mask. Never let the world see you sweat, even when the heat is unbearable. Never let your enemies taste your fear, even if you are bleeding inside. Project steel, an aura of unshakable resolve. Perception is the ultimate control over the minds of others. And the one who controls perception ultimately controls reality itself for the masses. Understand this fundamental truth. People are simple, driven by primal instincts. They are irresistibly drawn to confidence, to unwavering authority, to the comforting illusion of certainty, even if it's manufactured. Give them what they crave, and they will follow you, often blindly. Deprive them of it, and they will devour you, sensing weakness. Your rivals, your enemies, even your envious peers will always try to unmask you, to expose your cracks, to drag you down into the mediocrity from which they never escaped. You cannot, under any circumstances, allow it. Craft your reputation as meticulously as a general crafts his war plan, for it is your most visible and potent weapon. Guard it with unwavering vigilance. Do not be careless with your image, for perception, once shattered by a moment of weakness or an unguarded word, is almost impossible to rebuild, much less in this age of instant, unforgiving judgment. Power is not about being liked, a fleeting and unreliable sentiment. It is about being respected, and yes, sometimes even feared. The untouchable man knows how to appear calm in chaos, even when internal storms rage. He appears generous when it serves his strategic objectives, ruthless when required by the situation, loyal when it benefits his long-term power, and distant when ambiguity serves him best. He knows precisely when to play the saint, when to embody the wolf, and when to become the ghost, unseen, unreadable, yet omnipresent. Life is a grand stage, and perception is the meticulously designed mask you wear. Weak men resist this truth, clinging to a romanticized notion of being themselves that only serves to expose their weaknesses. Strong men, the true strategists, ruthlessly exploit it. Never confuse authenticity with transparency. You can be profoundly authentic to your purpose, to your internal strategic imperatives, without exposing every detail, every thought, every vulnerability of your life. Remember, the less they know, the more they are forced to imagine. And imagination, especially when fueled by a carefully constructed aura of power, is often far more powerful, far more intimidating than the mundane truth. If you understand this, write in the comments, "I shape the mask shapes the world." Say it, because once you master perception, you are no longer bound by mere reality. You bend reality to your will, becoming the author of your own narrative. And that, more than anything else, is the chilling essence of Machiavellian power. Fear and respect are the twin, often paradoxical, pillars of authority, the unseen forces that compel obedience and loyalty. And every Machiavellian mind knows the delicate, brutal balance required to wield them. To be loved, Machiavelli famously argued, is a dangerous weakness, for love is fickle. It vanishes when the winds of fortune shift, when you can no longer provide immediate benefit. To be feared is far safer. For fear, the primal instinct of self-preservation, endures. Yet, fear without respect breeds only resentment and eventual rebellion, an unstable foundation for any lasting power. And respect without a hint of fear breeds complacency, an assumption of leniency that invites challenges. The untouchable man commands both, not through begging or pleading, but through an undeniable presence, through decisive action, and through absolute control over consequences. Fear is not about raising your voice, displaying outward aggression, or striking your enemies immediately. It is about making others hesitate, about creating a psychological barrier before they even consider crossing you. It is the aura of inevitable consequence, the silent, chilling warning that to betray you, to undermine you, or to even disrespect you, is to suffer a loss so profound it becomes a cautionary tale. This is the strategic use of deterrence, seen on a geopolitical scale. A nation isn't feared for its size alone, but for its credible capacity to inflict pain when provoked. Respect, on the other hand, is not about titles, status, or accolades. It is forged in undeniable competence, in unwavering consistency, in the raw, unadorned display of strength and strategic acumen. When men fear your wrath, but simultaneously respect your wisdom, your capability, and your strategic vision, they align with you not out of fleeting convenience, but out of grim necessity. You become indispensable. You must study people with the cold, analytical eye of a psychologist. Their insecurities, their unspoken desires, their hidden limits. Understand precisely what makes them bend, what makes them break, what makes them align. The wolf does not roar like a lion, yet the herd still trembles at its unseen presence, aware of its calculated threat. Fear and respect are psychological weapons, and you must wield them with surgical precision. Be generous when it serves you, when it cultivates a strategic debt. Be ruthless when required, when a show of force is necessary to re-establish boundaries. Be silent when it unnerves, when ambiguity magnifies your power. Be decisive when others hesitate, seizing the moment with unshakable conviction. Men admire strength, but they obey consequence. Give them both in equal, measured doses. Weak men are enslaved by their desperate need to be liked, to be popular, sacrificing their power for fleeting validation. Strong men are ruled by their ability to be unlikable when necessary, to be a formidable presence that commands obedience rather than affection. Your task is not to be universally admired. It is to be untouchable, an unyielding force in your own domain. That means some will hate you, some will envy you, but all will undeniably respect the sheer weight of your presence, the strategic force of your will. If you understand this law, write in the comments, "I am feared. I am respected." Say it, because once you master this delicate, brutal balance, you step into a realm where no man dares test you lightly. And when they do, they will regret it profoundly. No man, no empire, rises alone. This is the grand deception of individualism, the big lie that romanticizes the lone wolf while systematically isolating you from true power. Power is not built in isolation. It is constructed through the meticulous weaving of alliances, relationships, and connections that can be ruthlessly employed as weapons or strategically deployed as shields. But here is the stark truth that most men cannot stomach. The ultimate exploitation trap of sentimental attachment. People are not friends in the traditional, naive sense. They are assets. Every bond, every connection you forge must serve a calculable purpose. Every alliance must have a clear function. Every relationship must be evaluated with the cold, unblinking eye of a strategist, devoid of sentimentality. Weak men chase loyalty, believing that some mythic brotherhood or sisterhood will save them. But loyalty without leverage is a dangerous myth, a guarantee of betrayal. History is littered with empires that fell because a ruler trusted too deeply, believing in the unbreakable bond of personal affection. Men are loyal only as long as it demonstrably benefits them, as long as the strategic calculus favors alignment. The moment it doesn't, they will turn, swift and brutal, without hesitation. A Machiavellian man expects this, understands it as a fundamental truth of human nature, and thus never depends on sentiment, only on leverage. Instead, he cultivates influence, making himself indispensable. You must master the art of being useful to others, particularly the powerful, while never, ever becoming dependent on them. Give undeniable value to those in power so they tolerate your presence, so they see you as an extension of their own strategic capabilities. Offer stability and predictability to the chaotic, the unpredictable, so they lean on you as an anchor in their storm. Provide clear opportunities to the ambitious, so they cannot afford to turn against you without sacrificing their own ascent. Position yourself as necessary, not optional. At the same time, ruthlessly cut ties with those who drain your energy, betray your trust, or offer no discernible strategic value. This ruthlessness in relationships is not cruelty. It is the ultimate act of survival and strategic self-preservation. Your time, your attention, your energy are finite resources, and to waste them on the unworthy, the non-strategic, is a betrayal of your own destiny, a sabotage of your own power. Build networks like a spider builds its web, invisible, silent, yet vast and unbreakable in its strategic design. You must know how to charm, how to subtly intimidate, how to inspire, and how to disappear when invisibility serves your purpose. Never show all your cards. Retain an aura of strategic mystery. Never reveal your true, long-term intentions, for that is to hand your enemies a roadmap to your downfall. And most critically, never mistake an ally for a brother. Allies are temporary alignments of interest. They can become enemies overnight if the strategic landscape shifts. Keep them close enough to use, but distant enough to cut away without a moment's hesitation, without the crippling burden of emotional attachment. Study history. Every king, every conqueror, every ruler survived because of carefully constructed alliances, but also fell because they trusted too deeply, because they allowed sentiment to override strategy. Learn from their downfalls. Relationships are chess pieces, not decorations for your life. Use them to shield yourself, to expand your reach, to build opportunities you could never achieve alone. But remember this above all. The moment an alliance becomes a chain, binding you, limiting your options, you cut it, cleanly and without remorse. The untouchable man is flexible, adaptable, and always in absolute control of who he lets into his inner circle and on what terms. And never, ever forget, your most dangerous enemy will often come disguised as a loyal ally, whispering false promises while sharpening their blade. If you understand this truth, write in the comments, "My alliances serve my power." Say it, because once you master the art of strategic relationships, you will no longer be a pawn on someone else's board. You will be the one moving the pieces, orchestrating the game itself. Power is not won by those who rush blindly into battle, consumed by impulse and the big lie of instant action. It is won by those who wait, who watch with predatory patience, and who strike at the precise, unassailable moment when the enemy is weakest, most vulnerable, and the reward for action is greatest. Patience is not weakness. It is a weapon sharper than rage, more precise than a frenzied attack. Timing is not luck. It is the cultivated ability to read the flow of events, to understand the subtle shifts in the strategic landscape, and to insert yourself with surgical precision when the world bends in your favor. Most men fail because they cannot wait. They lust for instant gratification, a symptom of the modern exploitation trap. They chase opportunities that are half-formed, exposing their intentions too soon, revealing their hand before the game has even begun. In doing so, they bleed themselves dry, wasting resources, squandering energy, and telegraphing their every move to their astute enemies. The Machiavellian man understands that patience creates leverage, and leverage, in turn, creates power. The more you wait, the more information you gather about your opponents, the more their weaknesses are revealed through their own impatience, the more opportunities ripen into undeniable advantages. And crucially, the less effort you ultimately need to dominate, because the conditions have been perfectly set. Patience is the brutal art of strategic restraint, the discipline to act only when action guarantees the maximum, most devastating outcome. Timing, however, is the ruthless execution of that patience. It is knowing exactly when to unleash your accumulated strength, when to drop the hammer with overwhelming force. Think of the apex predator in the wild. It does not chase every rabbit it sees, wasting precious energy. It waits, concealed, observing, conserving its power, for the perfect strike, one kill that feeds it longer and more efficiently than 10 wasted, frantic hunts. Life is the same unforgiving wilderness. Do not waste energy on worthless battles, on skirmishes that yield no strategic advantage. Do not reveal your full strategy, your ultimate objective, until the field is unequivocally yours to claim. The impatient man burns himself out in 100 directions, achieving fleeting victories at an unsustainable cost. The patient man conquers all with a single, decisive blow, carefully prepared, perfectly timed. When others rush headlong into the fray, slow down, observe, gather intelligence, let them exhaust themselves. When others hesitate, paralyzed by fear or indecision, accelerate, seize the vacuum, and strike with unshakable conviction. Your advantage comes from never being predictable, from always moving at the rhythm you choose, dictating the tempo of the strategic game. Master the clock, and you master men. You master markets. You master nations. There is no glory in action for its own sake, only an action that fundamentally changes everything, that reshapes the world to your design. Every empire that endured was built by rulers who understood precisely when to build, when to destroy, when to wait in the shadows, and when to strike with the force of an avalanche. You must cultivate this same ruthless discernment. If you understand this truth, write in the comments, "My patience is my blade." Say it, because once you master patience and timing, you will no longer be a man reacting to the world's chaotic currents. You will be the man the world reacts to, an unyielding force of strategic inevitability. To become untouchable is not to live a life devoid of enemies, for power always invites opposition. It is instead to live so strategically, so far beyond their reach, that even when arrows are shot, they fall hopelessly short, unable to breach your defenses. To be untouchable is not to be a ghost, hiding from the world's challenges. It is to be a fortress, visible to all, yet impenetrable to every assault, every betrayal, every crisis. This is the culmination of everything we have discussed. The synthesis of Machiavellian principles. Control of your mouth, absolute dominion over your mind, the ruthless mastery of chaos, unshakable command over your money, unbreakable discipline as your second skin, the strategic crafting of perception, the chilling command of fear and respect, the art of strategic alliances, and the predatory patience of impeccable timing. Together, these elements forge an empire within you, an internal fortress so formidable that no external force can topple it. To be truly untouchable is to systematically eliminate dependency. You do not rely on the fleeting approval of others, for you have validated your own worth through relentless self-mastery. You do not rely on external validation, for your internal compass is calibrated to your own sovereign ambition. You do not rely on fragile loyalties, for you understand the transient nature of human alliances and have built your own leverage. Your self-control, your meticulously crafted strategy, your abundant resources make you sovereign. Sovereignty is the highest form of freedom, the ultimate escape from the exploitation matrix that traps most men. It means your existence does not bend to any master. Your fate cannot be rewritten by another's hand. Your ambition cannot be stifled by external forces. Most men are mere pawns of their own weaknesses, endlessly sabotaging themselves with their unguarded tongues, drowning in their volatile emotions, living in self-inflicted chaos, bleeding their wallets dry on fleeting pleasures, collapsing under the slightest temptation. They chase superficial acceptance, bow to external fears, cling to false friends, and act without an ounce of strategic patience. They are not men, they are prey, ready for consumption by those who understand the levers of power. But the man who becomes untouchable transforms into something else entirely. He is the wolf who prowls where he chooses, the shadow that cannot be trapped, the strategist who moves 3 steps ahead, orchestrating the game itself. He does not beg to be liked because he knows respect, even grudging fear, is worth infinitely more than fleeting affection. He does not waste time fighting small wars or trivial skirmishes because his empire, both internal and external, is too vast, too powerful to be concerned with ants. He is cold when coldness is required, warm when warmth is a strategic tool, ruthless when ruthlessness brings undeniable results, and silent when silence is the loudest, most unsettling weapon in his arsenal. Becoming untouchable is not about being perfect, an impossible and irrelevant standard. It is about being unreadable, an enigma to your enemies. It is about being unshakable, a force that cannot be moved by external pressures or internal doubts. And it is about being unbreakable, an entity that absorbs blows and emerges stronger. The world will test you relentlessly. It will try to lure you with tempting women, to distract you with transient pleasures, to ensnare you with chaos, to break you with failure, and to flatter you with false loyalty. But you, the untouchable man, will remain unmoved, an unyielding monolith, because every temptation, every weakness, every trap that destroys other men will already be under your command, harnessed and redirected to serve your higher aims. You will not just survive, you will dominate. You will not just play the game, you will rewrite its rules. That is what Machiavellian mode is all about. Turning yourself into a man so disciplined, so calculated, so dangerous, so strategically superior that no insult, no betrayal, no crisis, no loss can strip you of your sovereignty. Your power will be your own, an unassailable reality. If you understand this final truth, write in the comments, "I am untouchable." Say it, own it, repeat it until it carves itself into your identity, into your very being. Because once you truly become untouchable, you no longer chase power, you become power.